Fearless in the ocean, stylish in the streets. What is the meaning behind that?
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part about the brand, initially it was coming up with what the brand was. So I guess, not to get overly deep right from the get-go, but the year prior to FOSS starting up, my grandfather actually passed away, and our nickname for him was FOSS, which we kind of stole from the old footy show, if you remember that. They used to call Sam Newman the FOSS as well. If you ever watched the old Sam Newman.
Yeah.
So I used to always talk about it, and then me and my mate started to get around and plan out what the brand looked like, and we just thought about FOSS and something that was simple and cool and recognisable. And then from there, we kind of wanted to figure out what the brand meant and what it would be about and what type of products we'd make. And we're kind of like, okay, well, can we turn FOSS into an acronym? And we just kind of came up with that. We wanted to do a brand that I guess suited that kind of surfy beach coastal style, but also kind of tapped into street style as well. That was the initial plan, at least, and now it's kind of just formed into whatever we want to release at the time. So yeah, Fearless in the Ocean was obviously the ocean coastal part, and then Stylish on the Streets was that street kind of part to it as well. And we probably followed that quite closely early on, but like I said, it's kind of just naturally grown into whatever it's become now, and it's still probably something that we live by, but in the early days at least, that was kind of the vision for the brand and what we wanted the brand to be. But yeah, it's funny how it evolves over time.
Well, how long did it take to build that vision? Because I feel like for a lot of people, the hardest thing is to get started.
Yeah.
And overcome that sort of, overcome that sort of first block of not planning to death, but actually getting rolling with some action. So what was kind of the defining moment where you stopped planning and you were just like, I've got the vision, I just got to get after it? Did you procrastinate for a while?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, it was picking the brand early and then going that way rather than trying to find along the way. Did that kind of help with that?
I'm trying to remember back. I think that was one of the cases where COVID was a real blessing. Like, there was nothing else to do. So the full story is actually, you might remember them, they were massive. They are still pretty big, but during this time in particular, they were massive. They were a brand called Neptune's Nephew. It's another local brand.
Yep.
And I ordered a jumper off there, and this was kind of maybe April 2020. It's like height of COVID, kind of lockdowns and everything. And I don't know, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do and what I wanted to make off my time post-school, because this is my first year out of school. And I just thought that kind of intimate customer kind of experience with a local brand just felt really cool to me. And I guess from there, the kind of decision then was, all right, well, how about we have a go? And then from there, we kind of started to sit down and think about branding or whatever else. But it's a long process, and there's a lot of things you don't think about, and there's a lot of things that kind of get in the way of point A to point B, in terms of point A saying, you want to do it, and then point B being it happening. I think probably it was maybe 6 or 7 months or overall. And even then, looking back, like, there were so many things we could have done different, and we probably rushed it to a certain extent just because I'm quite impatient. And I think, if you wanted to do it again and start probably at a stronger foundation to what we did, it'd probably be about a year process, I would have thought. But yeah, it was very sporadic, very like, let's do this. Which I don't know, I don't really... Like, I don't know. I feel like that's a decent way to make decisions, and then kind of formulating the plan and the brand around that after kind of deciding what you wanted to do.
So you almost would have learnt more through the action of starting it than all the
making
planning.
Mistakes and et cetera,
and learning from the mistakes as well.
Yeah, 100%. I consider ourselves quite lucky to have probably gotten through that stage where we were probably making a fair few mistakes and kind of coming out the other side. And I attribute that largely to our friends and family for supporting us, and realistically, much love to them, but probably buying jumpers and shirts and hats that they probably wouldn't had it not been our brand, and just kind of getting us through that learning phase. Because, without them, I really don't know where we'd be if we would be. But you're 100% right. You can't bubble wrap the whole process and launch it and expect it all to go perfectly. Like, a lot of it's just failing and then being able to learn from those failures and come back and do it better. That's been my biggest kind of take away from it all, is sometimes, I don't know, you guess to have to crack a few eggs to make an omelette type thing and learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
In that process, what were some of the obstacles that came in the way that, looking back at it now, you could have easily avoided?
Yeah, I think the obstacles, there was a few, even just stuff like, because I was 18, I had no idea. Like, because Dad's really big into business, and that also helped me out because he could kind of help me out. He was like, all right, so you're going to get an ABN? I was like, I've got no idea what an ABN is.
Yeah.
Website design, that was 2 full days. And even then it wasn't great. But
Quickly, we're interrupting this episode.
Hello, everyone.
Great listen. I know we probably don't need to say hi. We've
don't
already
stop
said
crying.
hi,
Stop crying.
these hats, the clothing that Charlie was wearing in this thing, his brand,
You can buy that.
you can buy it
It's pretty cool.
at this link right here,
Yeah.
this website, and use the code Crooked Smile
Like our podcast.
for a certain percentage off. The percentage off will be on the screen. That is Crooked Smile.
CROOKEDSMILE. No space.
No space.
Just Crooked Smile.
Crooked Smile, no
Crooked
space.
Smile.
All
No,
lower-
just Crooked Smile.
all lowercase.
Or look. Capital K. Crooked Smile. No, all lowercase.
All lowercase, Crooked Smile, no space. The code is on the screen. The discount percentage is on the screen. Check it out. Go to FOSS Clothing and buy something.
Have a great day, everyone.
Did you design the website yourself then?
yeah, collaboratively, at least from the get-go. One of the ladies that works with Dad on the branding side helped me out through website design. And then since then, I've kind of taken the reins on it and kind of tweak it here and there ongoing, depending on what we release and whatever else. But yeah, those are kind of the stuff that you don't really think about when you get into it. Ordering samples, finding a manufacturer, sustainability, branding, packaging, all those sorts of things. Like you just kind of think, oh, cool, we'll just make an Instagram, make a website, post
People
heaps of
will buy
photos.
it,
Yeah, heaps of people will buy it, will make heaps of money. But yeah, no, I think those are the things that kind of you don't necessarily think about. And I think for a lot of people, that's potentially the point where it's like, oh, well, this is just too hard. There's a lot more that goes into it than I thought initially. But again, luckily with COVID, there wasn't much else that we were missing out on. So that kind of just helped us stay steadfast and on our way. And in terms of what we would have done differently, I guess probably the design element, probably from the start, probably could have been a little bit more potentially true to ourselves to a certain extent. To a certain extent, yeah. And kind of do a bit more what we wanted to do rather than what we thought people wanted us to do, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I feel like since we've kind of moved on to that kind of thought process, things have been more on the up. So, but again, just things that you learn.
So that's just authenticity.
It genuinely is. Like, it's really funny because when you start off, you're at a point where if you make a release and it tanks, this is just the position we were financially. If that was to go downhill, it's kind of, pack everything up, close the doors, whatever else.
Yeah, right.
Just because you kind of pump all of your existing money into this one project.
Christ.
Yeah.
High stakes.
Yeah,
High stakes. No, that's
Was it a lot of capital?
Define a lot. Probably not really. I think we probably started off maybe $2,500 started us off. So definitely not much. And obviously anyone who knows much about clothing knows the margins aren't that big, so you don't necessarily make a whole lot. And like, we don't do it for the money. It was more so if this fails, the business fails, and you don't want the business to fail. So the result of that was we ended up just making stuff that we thought everyone would like. So really simple designs that weren't too much of this, but also weren't too much of that. And the saying's true, if you try to cater to everyone, you end up catering to no one. And it's interesting because ever since we've grown to a point where we can release this, it can tank and we can get up the next day, it's kind of given us that freedom to design and do whatever we want to do. And ever since then, the reception that we've got from our products has been much more positive. So it's an interesting learning experience for sure.
Yeah, so it's almost like there's a streetwear movement, I guess. I don't know, in Australia maybe, or maybe specifically in Perth. Like, there's obviously a lot of super local brands. Like, I didn't know Butter was a Perth brand. Like,
I think Ollie started.
Ollie Clothing. Like, it's a real hub for it. So I can imagine it might be hard to, I guess, be unique. But even just looking at the designs now, like it's completely unique and it's pretty cool. So
thank you.
I don't know, but like, where in that creative process did you kind of start? Obviously, you said when it meant that, was it just throwing a couple of things out there? Was it, talking to people about, what looks good? Like, did you have some sort of like test audiences?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny. The more you say that, the more I realise how underprepared we were.
Okay.
We kind of we just kind of came up with a few ideas probably behind closed doors and kind of went from there. Pretty quickly after that, we actually started up a FOSS family group chat. So that was just friends, family who supported the brand and got around it. And then from there, we kind of used that medium to poll designs and ideas to kind of gauge responses. And that's since moved to Instagram. But yeah, the design process was just two young fellas, neither of which were particularly good at art, trying to make something artistic and trying to make something look cool, which probably wasn't the best way to go about it. But I think it's just you kind of grow the brand. And I think, there's a lot of assumptions that, kind of a build it and they will come type things. Like, we'll release anything and people will get around it, I'm sure. But obviously that's not the case. And our design process has evolved a lot over the last 3 or 4 years.
Who do you go to for designs? Like, do you like do
Have
like
a graphic
rough
designer? Or?
Yeah, do you have like a rough sketch or something, or have you gotten better at art? Like, are you now doing?
Oh man, I definitely haven't gotten that much better at art.
It's either you have it or you're not.
Yeah, no, dead set. Like my partner's done a couple of things, and she was like an art ATAR kid, and she's just naturally artistic. And like the other night, I was just studying next to her, and she's just kind of like doodling on the paper and just draws this mountain landscape with his face, and it really pisses you off because it's like, it's so
I can't even color that, like never could color within the lines. You can tell from a very early age, like who are the kids that have that sort of, was it right side brain? Right side, left side?
I'm left-handed, but I'm horrible at art.
Oh, true. Yeah,
right. What side of the brain is the super creative one, and which one's the analytical side?
I think left's meant to be the artsy side.
But no, I've never been that fantastic at art. I think my main strength has been creativity and actually thinking about things. So the main process now is we just have an iPad, and I'll just kind of sketch things out and draw concept art. And I'd like to think over time my concept art has gotten closer and closer to what the end product looks like, but sometimes it's way off.
Yeah.
And then we've got a family friend of ours, Liz, who is a graphic designer. So we just send her the concept art and she cleans it up. But it's just one of those things, like it's so funny to be in the process of making FOSS back in 2020. And I just went to my cousin's 16th birthday, I think, just randomly, maybe in the middle of the year while we were kind of going through it. And Liz was there because she's best mates with my auntie. And then the conversation just kind of started up. I didn't realise she did graphic design. She goes, I'll work for you and da-da-da. So it's just funny how some things fall into place, and she's great. And it really helps us bring everything to life, because without her we'd be lost in terms of making everything look polished and nice. But
Well, there's two kind of big sides to it. There's the production side, which you've kind of spoken to a little bit about, but there's also within the production side, the manufacturing side and talking to manufacturers, but then there's also the branding side.
yeah.
Because I feel like they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, because if you have great production but no branding, it's not going to get sold to anyone. If you have great branding with a shit product, then no one's going to buy it.
Yeah.
So how have you found balancing the production and the branding together?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the production, I think our current approach is, the branding comes second. If you don't have a good product, then you can't polish a turd type thing. So you kind of got to make sure that your product is what you want it to be and release it from there. And in terms of the branding and the brand and how we promote it, I feel like that can probably go to another level, which is probably the goal of the summer. Keep dabbling in and out of stuff like TikTok and Reels, but far out. I don't want to give any credit to the influencers that say that it's a really hard job, but to be fair, it actually is quite tricky to be consistent. Yeah, honestly. I think just authentic branding, not trying to do anything that we're not trying to be overly flamboyant, just kind of staying true to ourselves, having fun. I don't know. I feel like the branding comes a lot more naturally, whereas the products is probably something where you tear your hair out a little bit, just because sometimes, writers have writer's block, but sometimes brand owners have creative blocks, I guess. But then the branding kind of feels a bit more natural. So I guess the basis of it all is the product design that kind of carries you through.
You love a product, it's easy to brand it, right?
Yeah,
and you got an idea and you got that vision. And I guess we live in a beautiful place where when summer rolls around, all of a sudden every day is like a perfect day for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
And I guess your clothing that's the whole idea, is it's kind of a product of Perth and where you've grown up. And
Yeah, no, definitely. It's bloody, you kind of look around a bit more and you realise Perth has got such a unique sense to it. You know, like whenever you go to Melbourne or Sydney, and they're amazing places as well, but everyone wears brands like Ralph Lauren and
interesting.
And you know, kind of Billabong and whatever else. Whereas here,
Rusty.
like, right, yeah,
Our friend owns Rusty.
oh really?
He doesn't own Russ.
His dad owns Rusty.
He said, yeah.
But yeah, in Perth, like you go around to places in Freo, like there's so many local brands and there's so many different, brands out there, and there's so many different ways that people express themselves. And there's, I don't know, I think it's really cool because it's really, really, really unique. And the guy that does our production is the guy who owns Onshore Threads, which is another reasonably large clothing brand. And I think Ollie really, from the way I see it, kind of started that kind of movement towards local fashion. And just kind of, I like to think that FOSS represents a lot of Australia and that kind of Australian style of everyone lives on the coast. There's obviously a street style and street lifestyle, but obviously we're so coastal as well, and just trying to target a bit of that, but also just kind of keeping it lighthearted and fun as well, because I don't know, that's the way I kind of like to go about things.
Well, because there's such a branded local scene in Perth, did that make it easier to kind of start because you could ask a lot of people for help and they knew what they were doing? Or did you find that people were a bit standoffish like the other brands when you got started?
Yeah, I don't think we reached out too much for help. I think we might have reached out for a couple of brands. There definitely is some gatekeeping out there, which I think is natural. Like I think if someone finds a secret formula, they don't necessarily want to give it away for free, which is fair enough. I think it's more just looking at what everyone else is doing and finding that balance between, well, what's working for everyone else, but also not falling into the trap of just doing what they're doing, because that, like I said at the start, that's not doing what we want to do, and trying to find that balance. And sometimes my partner catches me just scrolling through Ollie, just it's kind of be like, what are they doing? How have they cracked the code, whatever else, and trying to pull things back and realize that FOSS is its own brand, and we love it that way. We want to keep it that way, but kind of also still keeping your head on a swivel to the point where you kind of know what's going on, and you know, stuff like what colors are popular and what type of prints are popular and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think it's really cool to see what everyone else is doing, not just from the sense of what you can do next, but also just kind of celebrating everyone else around you. I think is really cool.
Moving into the branding side of things, when it comes to the branding and positioning yourself to have a unique selling point, how do you do that when there is such a saturated market with all the local brands?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I think it's definitely a question that probably we don't have a clear answer to. I'll preface all this by saying that FOSS is still a very humble brand. You know, we're not an Ollie-sized, butter-sized, Rusty-sized brand at all.
Not yet.
After this podcast, you'll be surprised. It's kind of like a launch pad for lots of people.
Creators help creators.
Anyway.
But yeah, it's definitely still something that we're working on and trying to find probably a bit more of a unique voice. I think our products do a lot of the talking for us in the sense that they're quite clearly not taking themselves too seriously. But then in the terms of the way we promote that, I think we're going to probably try and move into a bit more video stuff that kind of gets that across and kind of sell the lifestyle a bit more about what it is to be a member of the FOSS family, as we call it. But I think we always try to make it quite an intimate experience, and I think we do a lot of stuff online that kind of promotes the idea of being part of the FOSS family and just showing our gratitude, because it really is genuine. Like, we are so grateful for the people who support us, and I think we've got like 2,500 followers now, and we love every single one of them, and we want everyone who's on there to feel like they've kind of found a bit of a gem, I guess, that they can kind of relate to and feel a part of.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing people can get behind. I think it's similar to, like, I guess the music scene in Perth, or we kind of talked about it with Zafty, where, like, for me, I don't really have any bands or anything that I'm a big fan of in Perth, but I've started going to, you know, events and stuff, and you see a cool young Perth band that's got a whole bunch of followers, and no one really knows them outside of Perth, but I guess it's a cool kind of a community sort of vibe. I don't know. Also the creative arts, or that
Yeah,
sort of
well,
thing can bring people together in under one sort of.
I like how you use the word family. Like it's
Yeah.
a very wholesome sort of sense of worth. One of our friends, Harry Jackson, shout out to him, bought some of your clothes, and he was telling us that like you couldn't get the delivery on the same day or something, and you sent him like a message about it, and you were so like personal and like nice about it all. And he really loved that.
Appreciated
like,
that.
It's that personal connection where it's not so much, oh, we're above you, we have our own brand, but it's more, come be part of what we're part of. We're in this together. It's a family that really kind of gets people on board together, I feel, and is a really good position to have to be able to grow. So I think you're doing really well there.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, no, it's 100%. And like I always think about that kind of experience I had with Neptune's nephew at the very start of things that drove that kind of motivation to do it. And a large part of that was just the fact that it's not like you're dealing with a huge conglomerate.
Yes.
That, like you said, is above you. And, you know, if you walk out the door tomorrow, they're not going to lose any sleep over it because they're so big. And it was just like, I think I might have messaged them just asking, oh, what's the delivery time roughly? And they got back to me like straight away. And just kind of keeping that at the forefront of my mind. It's like, yeah, like I want people to feel, and we want people to feel like being part of FOSS is something bigger than a t-shirt or a hat or a hoodie. It's a real community. And I think it's really cool, like when you hear people, like we're stocked up in a few retailers around Freo, and some of them tell us like, a couple of people came in yesterday kind of around your age and they said, oh, I bought this cool brand FOSS, it's over in the corner here, come check it out. Like that's unbelievable. That's so cool. So yeah, I like to think that people can really like assimilate with our brand and feel part of a community. Like that's really what drives it. And Harry was very, very nice about it, and took my thesis as a good excuse for not having the delivery done in time.
Well, how are you finding balancing that, all that sort of stuff with actual university life? Does it get in the way sometimes, or is it a good kind of distraction at other times?
At the moment, it's a fair bit.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of my undergrad, it kind of all coincided when, I guess, my undergrad for a decent chunk was relatively cruisy, like typical undergrad stuff, like 2 or 3 units that kind of go towards your honours selection criteria. And at that same point, FOSS wasn't overly big, so it was chill in both areas. But as the unis kind of ramped up in terms of seriousness, so is FOSS in terms of busyness. So they're kind of full on, and we've got retailers who we love, but I think a lot of them kind of assume that it's my full-time job sometimes, which is fine because they deserve that level of service. But I think it's just about kind of balancing it, and I think some things naturally fall by the wayside, unfortunately, but we still always try and make up for it with customer service and everything else. But it's been a big 2 or 3 months with kind of the tail end of uni and honours and everything, and still trying to keep FOSS at that higher standard. It's been a lot, but when you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. I'm sure you know.
Well said.
Great saying.
Full of good quotes as well.
Very
nice.
Whimsical Sunday.
Whimsical Sunday.
What I was going to ask is, when it comes to clothing now, a lot of clothing brands are fully digital now, and it's kind of trending in that way with a lot of things, whether it was news or all of that. Do you see a point in the future where it's going to be completely digital, or do you think there will always be room to talk to retailers and that sort of thing? Because the convenience of like people just not wanting to leave the house and buy something online.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I think obviously in terms of the growth of the brand would be highest if everything was done online, just because obviously there's a certain amount of margin that you lose when going through a retailer.
Lower barrier to entry online as well.
Yeah, 100%. But I think at the point we're at, it's like I said, we're not that big a brand. I think people seeing us, like we get a lot of followers from people going in and seeing us in these big retailers who are amazing in what they do. So that's a really valuable source for us, and also just the sense that me personally, like I hate buying stuff online. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, it's ironic. Even though I promote buying stuff, I shouldn't say that. I love buying stuff online.
Yeah. I love buying FOSS online.
Yeah, only FOSS.
Yeah. But I think there will always be a certain subject in the market that prefer to try stuff on and see it in person and see what it looks like on them and whatever else. I think there's definitely motivation for us to continue to grow the online space, just in terms of helping the brand grow as well.
Which is the gram.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for saving me there. But I think there'll always be a place for the retailers. They're absolute legends, and having spaces in places like Rottnest that are really tourism heavy and allow us to kind of target people who we probably couldn't target online. And then same goes for Bustleton and Freo and everything else. So I think we definitely will try and push the online stuff more, but also I think there's always a spot for retailers.
Would you see yourself having your own sort of outlet store eventually? Is that the dream goal, or you're not really fussed about that?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people kind of ask me about that in the sense of, you might spend 4, 5, 6, 7 years trying to get a psych degree and there's end up being a full-time clothing manufacturer.
Still know how people think when it comes to branding and I don't know. Does that help? I don't know. Yeah. I've got no idea.
I've got a photo actually. It's pretty funny. My business partner and I, Lockie, we went to Japan and there was a fossil store. I think they sell watches. And we just kind of put our hand up and covered the IL and just had the FOSS up. I don't know. Having our own store would be unbelievable. I haven't let myself think that far down the line. I'm kind of just enjoying what we're doing at the moment. But I think having the retailers on our side kind of gives you that experience of seeing it on racks and seeing people, buying it in store and in person. But you never know what the future will hold.
Just on like Ollie and Butter and those are like StreetX. I think you kind of talked about it before, and you're trying like to start with. You started doing more basic designs or like less is more kind of thing. But I don't know. I feel like I'm buying an item of clothing, and I think a lot of people would disagree with me, and they prefer like the understated sort of.
Yeah.
But I kind of want something that someone looks at and goes, "Oh, what's going on?" Like if I look at this, like she'll be right, and I'll get you to talk about it in a second.
Yeah,
but like even your shirt today, I don't know who is this.
Andy Warhol collab with Uniqlo.
With Uniqlo, yeah, I look at that, right. And then there's a story behind it. And you're kind of like, oh, I don't know, because that's the banana from the Velvet Underground album. I know that's the famous Andy Warhol thing.
I couldn't tell you. I just said cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
But because then you look at something like Butter. I think Butter have some pretty creative stuff, but like Ollie's just. I hope they don't see this, Ollie's just.
I love Ollie.
Yeah, well, there you go. I've got no idea. I've genuinely got no idea. But like, maybe I don't know if you'd like to just speak to
quickly before you do. I've had a look through your website and seen some of the older brands that you're doing like the clearance sales on compared to the newer brands now.
Yeah,
and you can tell those brands are the more simpler, like early day designs versus like what you're wearing right now.
Yeah,
and. Like honestly, what you're wearing right now has your unique selling point.
Yeah.
It's so much more true to yourself, as you were saying earlier, and it's what you want to do, not what you think other people want, which I think is why it's, as you've been saying, getting a lot busier and more successful lately.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's definitely a balance. It's always funny because I think about, and Dad always kind of gives me crap for this all the time, because before FOSS started, I was full on like plain white t-shirt and jeans type guy. So I didn't really wear much, but I think brands kind of like Butter and Ollie and everything else, their brand is their brand name, if that makes sense. So everyone knows what Butter is, everyone knows what Ollie is. So it kind of like, I pull my hair out sometimes because you just walk down the street and someone will just be wearing a shirt and then Ollie is just written on their shirt and they bought that. And like that's cool and that's fine.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with Butter, and it's tricky because when you start out as a brand, no one knows who FOSS is and no one knows what XYZ brand is when they start out. So it's hard. You can't really just write it on the shirt and expect people to buy it. You need to make someone come to the brand first. And it's hard because there are a lot of kind of simple designs that kind of just work around your brand name. You kind of want to brand that, but then knowing or having the confidence to go, oh, well, someone knows our brand, they'll buy that as well, is probably something we're still trying to figure out. Whereas I think, like you said, what we've been trying to do is be a bit more true to ourselves, be a bit more creative, and something like this, it's unique. It's what we want to do, and it kind of just, our brand name's kind of pushed to the side a little bit. It's just kind of in small font underneath the slogan. So there's a bit of everything. There's always going to be a market for someone who wants those kind of, as you said, statement pieces. But there's definitely also a lot of people who prefer to keep kind of things understated and simple. And you kind of see that with a lot of these big brands that are just like selling blanks now. Because there's always going to be people who are more keen on that, and that's fine as well.
Do you want to speak to the design? So should we saw on your website? There's quite a few. Is that the latest kind of
It's
slogan?
the pre-season stuff as well.
Yeah. The pre-season was kind of the sequel to this one. I drew this one actually in Bali, I think, which is a fun story. That's the other thing that's always fun about it too, is that remembering where you were when you did the designs up and remembering the story behind them. Like, you know, it was exam season for this one or Bali for this one or whatever else. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think the She'll Be Right one, I think it speaks for itself in case anyone's listening and not watching. It's essentially just a character that's on kind of a sinking raft and he's got sharks circling around him, but he's just kicked back and he's got a drink in his hand. And
Very Bali.
Yeah.
Very Australian.
Very Australian.
No, dead set.
So yeah, both Bali. Australia, same thing.
Target markets. We've actually said that we'll know we made it if there's any Bali markets selling rip-offs of our stuff. That would be unbelievable. But yeah, I don't know. I think genuinely we'll like to have a bit of a message behind something. I think the She'll Be Right tease is kind of about just kind of kicking back, relaxing. There's always going to be
Australian culture.
Yeah. There's always going to be sharks in the water that might cause you a bit of stress, but the more you focus on the positives, the more you chill out and kind of just go with the flow and let everything be what will be. The kind of better off you'll be, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Said be a lot, but yeah. No, I think the She'll Be Right. I think we did it early in the year, but it's definitely been one of our more popular ones. So I thought I'd wear it today.
Nice. Very good.
All right, Johnny, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Where does one go to become a FOSS Clothing model?
Oh yeah, we did have this question. I was gonna say it seems like a very select group of
what's the
super
process
attractive people
to being accepted into that? Little...
What does one have to do to become a model for the brand?
Bloody
asking for a friend.
Yeah,
asking for
a super attractive friend.
We're both asking for a friend. Where does one have to go to potentially model some FOSS
Derek
Clothing?
Zoolander.
Yeah. I actually haven't really thought about it. It kind of naturally just happens. I think. So one of the key ways to start to be in some photo shoots is you need to be in a relationship with me. So my partner kind of ticked that box.
Yeah.
That position's filled. So
okay.
That's
nepotism.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Kat is Lockie's my business partner, so we met him through school. So Kat's his sister, so that's an Ella box that's ticked there. Ella is another frequent model. I actually met her working at Nando's.
You were at Nando's?
Yeah, I know.
Nando's Netherlands?
No, Applecross. Rest in peace.
Okay.
It's been shut down, unfortunately. But,
was it a health and safety thing?
No, I saw the Willerton thing with a few rats popping up.
The Netherlands one, they had a couple rats as well.
Oh, really?
I reckon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know, we're getting off topic. We need to get to the good stuff.
I want to talk more about Nando's.
We can circle back to that if you want.
Circle back to Nando's.
I'm locked in on this conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, Ella met her working through Nando's. Yarko is the same. George met her through uni, who you know as well, Gianni.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else. Dan's a good schoolmate of mine. And some people just kind of filter in and out. I'm trying to think who else there is.
Is there like a looks requirement to be like a certain like rating out of 10? Like for new people per se? Like if you were two young, handsome boys and you were both like solid 7s out of 10 with that? Is there a look sort of quota you got to hit or?
Nah.
But come on, that's you can't do that these days. You can't say that sort of thing. You can't go, you have to be a 7 or to get out. That's not, everyone's beautiful in their own way.
That's true.
Everyone's got their own unique selling point.
Yeah. No, there's
What about a crooked smile?
Crooked smile. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's a good question actually. I think it just kind of naturally happens. I feel like some people just kind of. I think people need to show interest in the brand to begin with, because I think naturally that kind of just pulls in people who suit the vibe of your brand already. I think if you looked outside to try and I guess hire people. That were just models and just kind of trying to fit them with the brand, it might not be as natural. And I think as well, just kind of doing it with mates and people that you know, it kind of helps everything look and feel a bit more natural.
Just readjusting your hair.
I was going to say, while we're on topic of photo shoots and stuff. Yeah, sorry.
Have you seen Zoolander?
Yes,
of course.
Owen Wilson, Ben Stiller.
No, other way around.
Yeah, I would have thought that'd be the other way around as well.
I'm Owen Wilson.
I would have thought so.
He's got the Owen Wilson accent.
Right. No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
I've
No,
got
it's okay.
I've got the blue steel, but I'm not going to do it on camera. I can't give
Yeah,
it away.
okay. Yeah.
Can't
yeah.
give it away.
We'll
Magnum.
I'll get my people to talk to your people. We'll figure something out. We'll draw a contract up. But
Good.
the other thing too with working with your mates is they don't expect payment.
Well, no,
Yeah,
neither would we. Neither would we.
No, nothing.
It's like you come on our podcast, we come on your photo shoot. Just
Yeah.
maybe get one photo and doesn't even have to go live. But
Yeah, yeah.
Scratch our back, we'll scratch yours.
Yeah, bloody oath.
I'm thinking about my back.
But yeah, no.
as you can tell, we're working on our sales pitches. But
Yeah, I picked that up, but it's going well though. I'm being swifted one way, which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, the model selection has just been very, very organic. Like, haven't really reached out to anyone. Like to all keep it in house and keep it all comfortable, which is I think it comes across well. I think that level of comfort, because you guys want to do a photo shoot, but far out, it's not the easiest thing. You feel very awkward, and it's very weird to get started. Like Dan probably started earlier this year, and I think he enjoyed the experience, but he also hated the experience at the same time. Like, it's very bizarre. You don't know where to put your hands. You don't know what your legs are doing.
we've got camera experience.
Yeah.
Nice. Enough. Let the man speak.
You're really pushing this really hard.
Is it kind of like, yeah, I don't know. How long do these photo shoots take? Like, how particular are you, or is
Lockie definitely helps out when he's there. Lockie also works in agriculture, so he's in Beverley a lot of the time, which is why he can't be here today. Also because it only looks like there's 3 mics, but that's fine. But yeah, no, I think it usually occurs quite naturally. Usually you have a pretty decent idea of what you want to do going in. I think usually we'll kind of tick over 2 hours, I think, for the most part. When you have a studio, you're set to a specific time that you book the space out for. But yeah, usually just point and click, take 500, 600 photos.
Only 5.
Yeah. 4 or 5 are bound to be good just by law of averages.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how it all goes. And it's more just like, we kind of try and make it more just a fun morning at the beach, and after we all get a coffee and everything else. And
Well, do you like being in the photo shoots yourself? Because I see you're in quite a few of them. Or is that just because because you're early days in the brand, you've had to do it, or you've wanted to kind of be the forefront in the pics?
I wouldn't say that I want to be. I think it's just the least kind of barrier to entry. I think it's just the easiest. Just if I'm going to be there, I may as well be in it. But I definitely think there's definitely an argument to make that as we grow and as things kind of become a bit busier, then that's something that I can start to step out of a bit. I did a marketing degree and didn't learn much, but one thing that I always kind of stuck out to me is that sometimes you've got to work on the business, not in the business. Because if you kind of get too much onto a ground level, sometimes it's hard to work on it in a big picture sense. So I definitely think that's something I could potentially handball off as we grow.
Nice footy reference.
Yeah. But I don't know. You end up with some cool photos for Instagram and everything, and I kind of weaseled a couple's photo of my partner and I in there as well.
Oh, hard launch.
But yeah, no complaints. But I definitely think it's something to think about going forward.
I don't know. We were going to ask you about sort of like liaison and supply chain, and if that's ever really difficult. Is that kind of, I don't know, logistics challenging, or have you got that pretty?
Well, you're head of all of
set.
that. Like,
Yeah.
talking to the manufacturers, it's said on the website.
Yeah. It can be quite challenging, just because like a lot of brands will do their own screen printing and their own embroidery, whereas we don't really have the facilities to do that. So Onshore Threads, or the guy that owns Onshore Threads, and also Project Print Co. does that for us. But it's hard because it takes a lot of stuff out of your hands, in the sense that if someone's sick, that's not you. That's all of a sudden pushing stuff back. And, if this thing on their end, like if this product on their end is sold out, then that's out of your control, and that pushes things back. So I think that kind of side to it's pretty tricky, and also just kind of planning things out. Like, you need to work around other people's schedule. Like, I think probably next week we're going to have to place in an order to get all our stock in for the Christmas stuff.
Wow.
And it's early October. So it's about a month turnaround, and then that gets pushed out as all the orders come in on their end because it's so busy, and then you also need to leave adequate time to market everything and
Isn't
ship
shipping
everything.
meant to be crazy around Christmas time as well?
Yeah. It's a nightmare around the world at the moment as well. Kind of shipping stuff.
Yeah, nah, shipping's the other thing actually that you don't really think about when you go into it. You just think, oh yeah, cool, $2-3 shipping, but nah, it's shocking. It's always quite embarrassing too because you get an AusPost business account, and a lot of our orders are local, so I kind of just end up doing them myself just to kind of save money and kind of time. But essentially, when you scan your business QR code, the more you spend, you kind of go up bands in terms of what you save. And wherever you go, for some reason, the AusPost person is always pretty keen to tell me that I'm on the lowest band. It's like, are you sure this is right? Because you don't even have a discount yet. I'm like, yeah, pretty sure that's right. And then, yeah, you end up paying $13 shipping, which is cool. But yeah, that's another part to it as well. But yeah, I think the more you kind of do it and the more experience you get, the more you kind of just kind of roll with the punches, and you kind of, you know, it feels like Christmas last year wasn't that far long ago. So you kind of learn year on year what to do, but it's also tricky too because the scale of everything kind of continuously grows. So you're always adjusting to how big the scale is and how long things take, which can be a challenge. But I think generally we're lucky to work with really, really good people that make things really easy, and we're very grateful for that as well, which is cool.
Well, awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to quickly mention, or any sales you've got coming up, any drops you've got coming up?
Where can we find your stuff, most important?
Where can we find you?
Instagram's FOSS_clothing. The TikTok, hopefully we start to get a bit more on top of that, which is just FOSS Clothing. Website's www.fossclothing.com.au. And then in terms of what I'd finish on, I think, you know, to anyone listening, you know, if you're buying, obviously everyone's going to be buying Christmas presents this Chrissy coming around, as we always do. I always say it, you know, don't buy anything that you don't want, but if you're going to buy something, consider local first. There's so many brands, not just us, that are really doing amazing things, and a lot of people like us too, where like Lockie and I haven't made a single dollar off FOSS our entire time personally. Everything goes back into the brand, and we always try to do different things and grow it to do good, and a lot of brands are doing the same thing, and even for the people who are making money off it, their own brands, they're usually doing that because that's their sole income. So, you know, the big guys are cool and big guys are nice, but consider supporting local as well, because I think it makes the world a bit more of an interesting place too, which is pretty cool.
There's your elevator pitch. Hey? Like, there you go. That's supporting local. That's and it comes in a few things as well. Like even when just the fruit you buy or something like that, they always say support local.
Yeah,
make WA, you know,
sovereign
support
country.
WA. I don't know.
Turn WA into its own country.
Be proud of where you're from, and buy the product from where you're from. I guess I like that. I like that. That's a cool.
Right, we know how you feel. We don't make any money off.
Yeah.
Not that we're not trying.
It's overrated anyway.
You're a sponsor and you're watching this. We're here.
No, that's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Thanks very much for coming on.
If I can, one other thing. Sorry, I should probably mention this as we head into no.
No. I'm saying no. Go. We've talked too much, I think. So sorry about that.
No, if you're also on our website, you might see a Perth Children's Hospital fundraising tee. Really, really keen to kind of see that program out. We're hoping to raise hopefully about $3,000 for PCH. So the program was, we had a competition with the kids at Perth Children's Hospital to draw us their favourite sea animal, amphibian, whatever else. Young Harry, age 4, draw us his crocodile, and we've printed that on the shirt, and all proceeds for that shirt go to charity. So if anyone's listening and is having a look around, consider that as well, because we're trying to, like I said, we're really keen to do some good with the brand and grow it to do that sort of thing and do stuff that we probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So just wanted to finish on that.
I'm sorry we didn't bring that up earlier. That's super cool.
No, that's all right.
That's really is that something you're looking to do more and sort of support local charities and that sort of thing? Yeah. Part of the community sort of vibe of
definitely. Like, obviously as a psych student, really keen on helping people and really want to do some more stuff. Obviously PCH has been amazing and they're so open to fundraising opportunities, which we're really grateful for, but also doing stuff to support things like mental health. And I think the brand in general, even outside of charity stuff, really supports that idea of being yourself and carefree and living your best life and being true to yourself. But definitely as we grow and there's more kind of room in the budget to pursue projects like that, I think it's definitely something Lockie and I are really keen on. So I think it'll be really cool.
Awesome. Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on. Wishing you all the best for the future and all the success, and hope you have a great Christmas sales as well.
Yeah, I'll be buying the PCH.
Yeah, I'll be buying that crocodile.
Shirt?
It's a crocodile.
Yeah.
I'll be getting one as well.
Yeah,
We'll rep them on.
we
one
can't
of the
have
future
matching.
episodes.
We're gonna have
Are
matching
they all the same
t-shirts.
colour?
They are all the same colour.
We can have matching t-shirts.
Yeah,
matching
yeah.
crocodile t-shirts.
Well, look out for that in the future, audience, for us wearing them in one of the future episodes. Otherwise, thanks very much for listening. Thanks for sticking to the end, and like,
Thank you,
subscribe,
Charlie.
and comment. Thank you,
Cheers,
Charlie.
guys. Appreciate it.
mate.
That was fun.
And I can never ever. If you get lost, I press the rewind so you don't see now. I know I can tell that you a winner. I'm making key lime cause I was living in the backseat till you bagged me. All my niggas never playing games like we bad street. When she talking, feel like poetry in motion, and I feel like I'm chosen. When she look at me, I'm getting lost up in that ocean. Everywhere in motion, they ain't got a notion. I wanna tell them.